Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. Now, after Rocky Balboa ended the Rocky series, Sylvester Stallone stated many times that the Rocky series was completely finished. He was not going to make a Rocky 7. The story is done. And he kept his word. Creed is an entirely new series, written and directed by someone else entirely. Loophole! The brainchild of Ryan Coogler, Creed is not a Rocky movie, because Rocky isn't the protagonist, just a supporting character. A supporting character who rivals the protagonist in terms of screen time and quantity of lines, but it's just a lot of support. The real star of this tale is Michael B. Jordan, who plays Adonis Johnson, an unknown boxer who is shunned by most trainers because he couldn't possibly have what it takes. But the truth is, he is actually the youngest son of the former heavyweight champion, Apollo Creed. Yeah, Apollo had other kids, but they're not even brought up, let alone having us find out where are they now. And while the focus isn't necessarily on Rocky's shoulders, it does seem like this movie wasn't going to be made without Stallone. It's said that the initial pitch Ryan made to Sylvester didn't go over too well, with Stallone shooting down any idea to continue the Rocky franchise past Rocky Balboa. However, continued pressure as well as some external forces eventually brought the man around to the idea, not only showing up to set to say AO a lot, but working as a consultant of sorts to make sure Ryan Coogler and Aaron Covington wrote the characters properly. So I guess then it's not really a Rocky movie despite just how much focus is on Rocky, but nevertheless, let's take a look at Creed and see if a new writer and director can breathe new life and a new perspective without going so far from the old perspective it just has absolutely no relation at all. Like any movie in this franchise, it starts out with a fight. Not an ending fight like most of them, but rather kids beating the crap out of each other in a juvenile detention facility. It's here we meet our protagonist, Adonis Johnson, played by Alex Henderson. A child actor, so of course his film career is a bit sparse for now, but he did actually work in a lot of things before this movie, like an episode of Chicago PD with his character, Boy. I guess that is slightly better than just calling him Nick. No time to get into detail as the security guards break up the fight. This just so happened to be taking place on the same day that someone was coming to visit the troubled kid. Someone very plot relevant.
I'm sorry about your mother. I know what it's like to lose someone.
Apollo's widow, Marianne Creed, played by Felicia Rashad. Not the same actress that was in Rocky 2 and 4, Sylvia Meals. But to be fair, Sylvia is a little, dead. It seems Adonis here was not her son, but the son of Apollo's side chick, which explains how he got this old without even knowing who his father was.
What was his name?
Yeah, but how's the kid supposed to know it's the same Creed? I mean, just imagine that shit. Hey, you're the long-lost son of Michael Bolton. No, the one from Office Space. It's still good. We suddenly jump ahead a decade or two, where it seems Adonis has followed his father's footsteps and entered the world of boxing, kicking all the asses. Either that or he's volunteering for the most hardcore high school Spanish course I've ever seen. Rather, this is only a hobby, as he has a swanky office job, but not if he can help it.
You get a promotion and you're quitting?
Well, this career just ain't for me.
What are you gonna do?
Has some low-end boxing matches, nothing special. Maybe get noticed by the heavyweight champion of the world and used in a publicity stunt that winds up proving to the world that I am actually a lot more capable than anyone ever thought. It's nothing special. I saw it in a movie once. Of course, the problem with going from a nobody who everyone ignores to the biggest name in boxing is you have to start out as a nobody who everyone ignores.
You real tough now.
Yup.
Nah, I ain't training you. You know I ain't training. Ain't nobody training you. I'm gonna make sure about that.
Well, damn, as hard of a time as Rocky had having anyone believe in him, at least Mickey didn't go around to the other gyms telling everyone else not to train that bum. Besides, how the hell does a trainer have that much clout to be able to pull that off? Now, he's not going to give up that easily, though, so Adonis jumps in the ring and wagers his car as a prize for anyone who can knock him out. Here we see he easily beats the fuck out of the miscellaneous guy who is probably already tired from training anyway, but that's not good enough for him.
Who's next?
I'm next.
Okay, in this world, time occasionally stops and gives us the fighter's stats to read. The new challenger is Danny Wheeler, played by real-life professional boxer Andre Ward. You could also just nickname him Reality, because he smashes into Adonis' face, laying him out and crushing his dreams. No bother, having lost his job, his car, and his reason to live, in California anyway, he tells his mother he's moving on to pursue his dream of getting punched in the face for money, thus leaving behind his childhood home of San Francisco, Los Angeles. I get those two confused. He makes his way to Philadelphia, and for the one place he's sure he can find someone who just might be willing to train him. Rocky's Restaurant, still run by Rocky Balboa.
This was taken from the 10th round of the first fight, right?
Good call. How'd you know that?
I heard about a third fight between you and Apollo.
In secret, in a dark room, covered in oil, naked.
How do you know all this?
How do you think?
Fucking Windows 10. The first thing Adonis here does after moving from one coast to another in an attempt to get away from everyone who knows he's Creed's son and the brick wall that comes with it is to tell Rocky he's Creed's son, and because of that, Balboa should totally train him to be a kick-ass boxer. But no one has to know he's Creed's son. He wants to make it on his own with the help of the greatest boxer who ever lived, specifically because of nepotism. Hey, a self-made man doesn't make itself, am I right? Stallone is less than interested in helping Ryan with the movie Adonis train, but gives his blessing. Thus, having no one else to turn to, Adonis just stays up all night watching internet videos to catch up on the rest of the plot. We find out there's a major fight coming up, which will be the last one the heavyweight champion of the world will be able to do, as he's about to go to jail for 7 years. Thus, the champ, Pretty Ricky Conlon, played by another real-life boxer, Tony Bellew, is to be pitted against the second highest-rated boxer in the world, Danny Wheeler.
Fighting out of the famed Delphi Boxing Academy with a trainer whose father guided icons of the past.
Who the hell is the time-traveling cameraman who keeps going back to get the footage they kinda need right now? Keeping track of the boxing world will have to wait, though, because his downstairs neighbor is blasting their music, and as Adonis has to wake up early to train, he's gonna put a stop to this.
I'm Donnie.
Well, thanks. That's gonna make filing the police report that much more efficient. This is Tessa Thompson playing the obvious love interest, Bianca. Of course, they first need to establish she doesn't like Donnie.
You won't hear Pete.
No one can hear me when they're dead. Now that we've established she exists, it's time for Adonis to head down to Mickey's old gym to start his training. It's here we find that even if people have no fucking idea he's Creed's son, they still don't give a damn about helping him out, because fuck you, that's why. Ah well, one short scene later about Bianca's music being so loud because she's a musician, and that's called work, and we're back at the gym, where everyone sees a news broadcast about an upset in the boxing world.
But we guessed the fighters couldn't wait another 24 hours. Conlon punched Wheeler after words were exchanged during the face-off.
Oh, no, a punch? He punched him? That's unheard of! Joking aside, it's not so much a punch that's the problem, but the fact that he broke Wheeler's jaw, which has effectively canceled their fight. This inspires Adonis as he heads back down to Rocky's restaurant to catch him restocking and ask him for help yet again. Not with training directly, mind you. He knows Rocky ain't got time for this and he's moved on. Just some friendly advice. Realizing he isn't going to get this kid out of his hair anytime soon, Balboa goes ahead and writes down a training regimen for Adonis to follow, only to be confused by zany newfangled technologies.
All right, man. Wait, don't you want this?
I got it right here.
What if you lose that there, it breaks?
It's already up in the cloud.
What cloud? What cloud?
Yeah, a bit awkward, but I gotta admit, if Rocky V had an out-of-nowhere Napster reference, it could have only made the movie better. Speaking of things that improve the series, Donnie asks Bianca out for a meal. Well, yeah, that's all it took to go from standoff to friendship, and now here, in the 7th damn movie taking place at least partially in Philadelphia, they finally have a goddamn cheesesteak on screen. At Max on the corner of Germantown and Erie, so not just any old cheesesteak on top of it. Good on you, movie. You get a star just for that. Anyhow, now that they're amicable, it's time to introduce the tragic condition Bianca has.
I got progressive hearing loss. Just started wearing these this past year, but I only need them in places with a lot of background noise.
She's a musician, but is slowly going deaf and will be unable to hear the beautiful music she makes one day. In theory, I know this one deaf guy that I used to work with. He was completely deaf, but he had the most kick-ass sound system on his car. And it was pretty much all subwoofers, but it worked. In case you're wondering where Paulie is during all this, well, he's fucking dead too. Yes, he was Rocky's last friend in the world, but it seems like people in general aren't quite as broken up over this. Spare Rocky, of course, who, now having no one left to distract him from the day-to-day grind of emptiness, decides, fuck it, why not show up where Adonis is working out and actually train the man? Possibly because having such a big name as Rocky Balboa show up to say he's interested in your success is kind of a red flag to everyone around them that there's something special about this kid. So Peter Sperino, played by Richie Coster, thinks it might be nice to have the new kid get the shit beat out of him by his son, Leo, played by yet another real-life boxer, Gabe Rosado. However, Rocky thinks this bout can wait because he's not sure that Adonis is ready yet.
I ain't never even seen you battle before.
Yeah, but I've been watching him, and I'm pretty sure he'd catch my fade.
And what's a fade?
I could take him out.
Oh, that's nice, Donnie, but how the hell is a cheesesteak gonna help you in the ring? Adonis has the brilliant idea, though, that he could start training 24/7 if Rocky lets him move in at his place.
So I can move it to your spot. Start training camp. Old school, remember?
No one's been in my house in a long time, and I don't think you'd be comfortable there.
Don't you walk around naked?
No, I lounge. So it's agreed, with Balboa hardly realizing what's even going on. He's doing better than Bianca, who, in this age of cell phones and instant messaging, wasn't even tipped off anything was happening.
I'm gonna be living with my uncle for a while, training for the next fight.
That's your uncle? He's white.
By God, he is! Quick, we gotta find a Whole Foods so he can feel comfortable.
Why you giving me that look?
Well, when were you going to tell me that your uncle's Rocky Balboa?
Well, judging by your apparent interest, shortly after informing you of his melanin deficiency. It's not all smiles and sunshine and awkward quasi-comedic half-sentences, though, as Donnie's introduction to Rocky's home life brings with it some pretty heavy topics.
Oh, man, this is a dope pick. It's your boy?
Yeah, it's my kid, Robert.
If you recall, Robert was played by Sage Stallone, Sylvester's actual son in Rocky V. Unfortunately, in between then and this movie, Sage passed away. Which isn't the angle they go with here, although it is an actual picture of Sylvester and Sage together. In the Rocky universe, Robert set out on his own to make a name for himself in Vancouver, and has a good job and family of his own, just not involved with his father anymore. Which is fair enough, though it's still a pretty sad scene when you know the truth behind what was leading up to it. Also, the truth is not what you'll find in the tabloids, because the autopsy report showed absolutely no drugs in Sage's system, outside of like a single Tylenol tablet. But what killed him was a heart attack which was brought about by plaque buildup in the arteries. And yeah, he was young, but this kind of thing isn't unheard of. Storyline-wise for Balboa, it establishes not only does he lack his close friends, but his family as well, so when the morning comes and it's time to start Donnie's hardcore Rocky training montage, we see not only does Adonis become progressively better at the exercises, but the former champ also becomes much closer to the young man, and at times downright fatherly. Also, even though he's the same age that Burgess Meredith was during Rocky 1, he's a very physical and active guy, even now. It's making me wonder what would happen if someone tried to rob a bus full of senior citizens, and it turned out that they were all retired 80s action movie stars. Wait, did I just come up with the opening scene for Expendables 4? All this training has been leading up to the mid-boss match between Adonis Johnson and Leo Soprino. Slight problem, though. It turns out that Pete couldn't leave well enough alone and did some digging, finding out that Adonis is the son of boxing legend Apollo Creed. Rocky tries to explain that the kid doesn't want the legacy to affect his career, and deserves a chance to make it on his own, so could you keep this a secret?
Yeah. Secret's safe with me, Rock.
How long until he blabs to the press? Oh, well, that's actually quite a while in movie terms. Well, let's not skip everything in between then. Quite especially as that shit was this fight, and what a goddamn fight it is. If you like your fights to feel real, how does a completely uncut, unedited match sound to you? Seriously, every cut you've seen here has been my doing to keep this review from getting falsely flagged by the Content ID bot. The actual scene is a single 4.5-minute shot from start to finish. It's said that there were 13 takes, and they ended up going with take 11. No matter the case, this is a great example of cinematography, acting skill, and a very exciting match to boot where Adonis takes some heat, but gives it all back and wins by knockout.
What we doing after this? Let's go for it. Let's go tear the city up. Okay.
Fuck it, the city can tear itself up. He can't be too tired, though, as some fresh beats from his girlfriend is enough to get him to rise to the occasion. But the next morning is when news of his pedigree hits the web, resulting in the first couple's argument. She's upset that he lied to her about Rocky being his uncle when in fact Creed is his father. The fact that this was supposed to be secret, thus you don't just go around telling everyone, doesn't satisfy her, so he just reminds her that he loves him, and then they make amends. But that doesn't mean the drama surrounding this revelation will just go away.
Creed's son?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
He's got one fight under his belt.
Yeah, I know. But he's got Balboa in his corner.
That means, technically, this is a Rocky movie. You're the champ. Challenge the fucker. Conlon actually thinks this is a shit move, picking on an inexperienced boxer just because they have a big name attached to them, but his manager reminds him he can't make millions while in prison, and this is the best chance they have to keep his family solvent while he's incarcerated. Thus, he shows up to Rocky's restaurant to pitch the idea, with a few stipulations. First and foremost, Adonis Johnson will have to change his name to Adonis Creed, so that they can maximize name recognition.
And what if I say no?
Well, then there's no fight. Without the name, there's no fight. It's a non-starter.
If you just want to make sure that the champ's family will keep their house, you don't necessarily need the biggest paycheck the world of boxing has ever seen, do you? I mean, how many fucking Happy Meals do this family eat? The guy's fair enough, though, allowing them a day to think it over. It doesn't take long for Rocky to conclude, well, I'm in this movie, we may as well do this. And the fight is on, which means the training starts up just as hard and fast. So hard and fast, Balboa is having trouble taking the exertion.
I'm good. Yeah.
Revealing the horrifying truth that Rocky is getting old. I mean, we already knew that, but it's actually affecting the character. However, it's not just his age that's catching up with him. They are very specific about what his ailment is.
Your biopsy came back showing signs of large cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
What's that do?
It kills you! You're gonna die! Fucking death! Not good. And he's okay with that. As it happens, this is the same kind of cancer that took Adrian's life, and with her they went through the chemotherapy and everything, but she still died. So he figures, screw it, it's just easier to accept his fate and be done with it. He does take the pamphlets, though, which means Adonis can find them shortly thereafter, and get somewhat annoyed at his chosen course of action.
If you don't jump on this quick, you're gonna end up dying.
I know.
And you're all right with that?
I am.
I mean, no one goes to the restaurant anymore. And do you have any idea what the property tax is on that thing? I mean, if Gaza was still around, I'd have him on speed dial. This fucks everything up in a hurry, as it screws up Donnie's emotional state to the point where he goes over to Bianca's next live show and beats the fuck out of the guy in charge. He does show up to apologize for fucking up the most important night of her life, but the mild apology isn't enough to satisfy her anymore. Eventually, he's all alone in the world yet again with nobody to turn to. But then, a lone kid on the street shows him what's really important.
And I heard you Apollo Creed, son.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yes. That is what's up! Yeah, that somehow is the turning point where Adonis gets his life back on track. First of all, getting Rocky to go through with the medical treatment. As he put it, if Rocky expects him to fight, he expects Rocky to fight as well. Thus, we get our big training montage, spliced with a hospital stay montage. But either way, Creed trains his ass off and is ready for the fight, while Balboa gets healthy enough to stay by him ringside, now sporting a beanie, much like Mickey used to. Still, one loose end though.
How you doing, Bianca? What are you doing here?
Well, it's about time for the climax, so it'd suck if she wasn't supporting him, so yeah, you're back together. I mean, the relationship may not be steady, but at least it's predictable. Now that everything is in order, the climactic battle is underway, and it's a bit of a trade-off. The unedited Steadicam fight from earlier was really impressive, and at first, it's disappointing that it doesn't look like any part of this fight tried to use such a technique, and instead is edited in a more traditional way. However, the editing at work is very good. They get enough artistic shots without going luda-fucking crazy with them like certain parts of Rocky Balboa felt. Not to say it can't get a similar feeling like when this happens. Not just the slow-mo knockout, but the short walk we take through Adonis's mind. A good few shots of the spectators shouting mixed with some memories of things he saw, and some stuff he couldn't have.
Just got up like a man possessed.
As long as he doesn't start talking in Carl Weathers' voice, I think we're cool. After this, though, the fight unfortunately does feel a tad derivative. What's this? Adonis's left eye got badly injured and swollen shut? Oh my! They do deal with it in a different way, though, with his cut man tapping him to let him know how many fingers the man is holding up, allowing him to continue the fight. A fight that, despite him knocking down the champ, Conlon does get back up from, and it's a split decision! Who would have thunk it? The reigning heavyweight champion of the world keeps his title, as decided by the judges. Now, well, at least Rocky's here to let him know that's how these things work, and this is still a happy ending if you look at it the right way.
Adonis, I know you never met your father, but if he was here tonight, what would you want to say to him?
Well, the first thing would probably be, a ghost! A ghost! And then I would be asking about all those late Christmas and birthday presents. You know the drill by now, though. He's proven himself a true contender by going all 15 rounds with the heavyweight champion of the world, and the movie ends on him ascending the steps to the Philadelphia Art Museum with Rocky Balboa, who may be doing this for the last time on film for all we know.
You know, if you look hard enough, you can see your whole life from up here.
How does it look?
Not bad at all.
I mean, the fifth part's kind of so-so, but the rest of it really makes up for that. Anyway, that was Creed. And it's pretty much Rocky 7. I say that because while Adonis Creed is the title character and the technical protagonist of the film, there is a fuck ton of Rocky Balboa throughout. He's a supporting character in much the same way a boat is supported by a lake. That's not necessarily a bad thing for the quality of the movie, but so far as being the start of a new saga after the end of an old one, it does feel more like the start of a new series within the continuation of another. On the plus side, though, with the fact that it's technically a new franchise, this means things that come off kinda weird for a Rocky movie, like time stopping to give us the history of boxers who happened by, don't feel quite as strange. Still odd, but forgivable. Also, the use of real boxers as a cast of characters, while the case in Rocky V and Rocky Balboa, never sat well with me because it felt like Stallone should have been going against larger-than-life characters. In Creed, though, it doesn't have that history ingrained in its DNA, making the use of real boxers feel much more natural. The story also is done very well. I was expecting Rocky again, but the film mostly came out as its own story set in the Rocky universe. It fit within the existing framework and avoided repeating the formula too obviously. It did feel a bit rougher right at the end, but maybe that's just because I've binge-watched all the Rocky movies. At the end of the day, Creed takes a series that was driven to the ground and revitalized and gives it a new beginning that doesn't feel derivative. That's impressive in and of itself, and with its 2-hour running time, almost comes off like the cinematic equivalent of the Rocky story, going the distance and proving it has what it takes, despite a few problems along the way. Coming in at 5 authentic Philadelphia cheesesteaks out of 5. Is it better than the first? Hard to say. They're different. I mean, what's the better flavor, vanilla or chocolate? I didn't mean that as a... You know, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Okay, thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, quitting your job to beat people up for money only works in Hollywood. And possibly Oakland.
My gloves, just cut them off.
I can't cut them off. I'm ready to go fight. Are they too tight?
I'm freaking out, okay? I'm freaking out right now. I gotta take a shit. Somebody gonna wipe my ass for me?